Kowi to send one Stalker to the right there. Fantastic play from Kowi to actually do that. He wanted to keep tabs on as the Stalkers turn around, try and harass each other off there. But just in case that army was coming down, he didn't want to get caught out. He's not going to get caught out this time. The Stalker shields are going to pop up here. The Immortal is the first target here for Kowi. He's managed to bring them down nice and fast while the Zells are still fighting on the front rows. The Stalkers from Kowi have actually split themselves up, attacking low and high. But Tendersteak is trying to punch straight through the middle there with those two Immortals. He might do so as well. They're coming in range of the Photon Cannons, and they are going to do a little bit of damage. One Photon Cannon will actually complete in behind them. The Immortals do massive damage to those Photon Cannons, of course, being that anti-armor. The Stalkers still trying to micro themselves back here. Tendersteak has taken a lot of casualties here now. One Photon Cannon is actually completed again. But Kowi, the ability to actually warp in those units, especially those Dark Templars who are going to harass that Immortal down. No observer. He can't see them attacking him. Probes coming on down as well. Tendersteak trying to run the probes as basically sacrificial lambs. Not going to be enough. And there's the blink completed on the Stalkers. Get in front of that Immortal and bring him down. One probe is on the run, and Tendersteak, he cannot defend that expansion. There's nothing for him. He doesn't have a forge up, so there's no Photon Cannon options. And now Kowi can do some damage, especially to that first expansion. Oh, hang on, no, Tendersteak's actually going to come on down. Stalkers as well as Immortals. He's got no vision. The Observer's got to get himself out there. Now they can attack those Dark Templars who are getting him from behind while the Stalkers blink themselves in front. Now the Stalkers come back in again while they harass on the Templars, and all the Stalkers now gone down for Tendersteak. He's got one Immortal and one Zealot. Cancel that. No Zealot. One Immortal. The Observer is still there, but it can't do jack all. Warping in more units. Stalkers is there, but Tendersteak realizes there's no more go. It's a GG call, and Kowi takes out the first match.
Wow, that was dominant. That was domination, that one. I was really really impressed by that. The DT play at the start didn't actually come in too handy for him, but like it did economic damage, but he was looking to do a lot more with it. But the fact that he had them actually just completely screwed over Tendersteak. Even though that play at the ramp there with the blind force fields, Toby, that was fantastic.
Yeah, it bought him a little bit of time to actually try and get off. We'll jump ourselves straight into the second replay as well, so we have a very, very small gap here. But you're quite right. Tendersteak, great vision to actually try and put those shields down there. He had enough sentries to do so as well, and he did catch out a couple of Stalkers there from Kowi, catching them out and bringing them down. But Kowi, he hit back with those Templars. He didn't do as much as he wanted to, but still bringing down that Cybergamer's core. He managed to claim the gateway as well. It really, really pushed Tendersteak really back into his base. He couldn't expand as fast. Kowi got that one. The minerals went up, and then Kowi can literally build whatever he wanted to. And then continue to harass with that pylon, which went unchecked as well from Tendersteak, just below the south of his base, and he just ran up the invis units. And when it came to the time to push on that first expansion, the Stalkers were warping in, and Kowi had that reinforcements. The amount of times we saw Tendersteak try and push on the Kowi's first expansion, he did it twice, but he didn't have the resources to keep on pumping through again. That's because the warp gate was missing. He lost his Cybernetic core, so he had to rebuild that and then go to the warp gate. It just really set him back there. He didn't have the ability to keep that macro game happening. And now we're going to find out what's going to happen here in Game 2, Pandan.
That's right. So I got mine loaded up and set on 0 seconds. You want to do the countdown, Toby?
We'll do the countdown. So on a 3, 2, 1, and we're rolling at the faster speed. Counting off here. So Tendersteak, he's got himself a bit of a 2. And all the way up there on the 12, it is a Kowi. Yeah,
so Tendersteak and Kowi spawned nice and close this time around. So we'll see how this one changes out. Their scouting routine. I think we have a lot of players like to go counterclockwise with their scouting. I'd be surprised to see if they do that. I mean, I never fall for those sort of things. I always just choose the closest spot.
Obviously, because Pandan is the best StarCraft player in the entire Oz, best in Ozstar.
Yeah, everybody's afraid of me. That's why I don't play in these comps. Nobody show up otherwise.
Yeah. Tendersteak looks like once again he's throwing that pylon on the front lines, thinking about putting in that wall once again and trying to hold them in. He did successfully last time. Protoss versus Protoss. I'm never a big fan of the wall in, but he did do it successfully last time with those shields going off there through those sentries, and he kept tagging them on there. But with such a small ramp too, you can throw down those shields and you just hold them in place. You don't really have to do much more. And Kowi once again just throwing the pylon at the back there, throwing the gateway in nice and close, and then sending his probe out there to have a bit of a scout. 13, of course, this is a 4-player map. You can either go south, you can either go west, east, or north. In this case, it's north and east, and we'll see where the boys actually scout first, because that scout, once again, coming out very, very early from Tendersteak. He's going to pop off that tower. The tower's actually going to miss the probes, and the probes are going to have a bit of a Chinese kiss on the way back there from the 8 o'clock, and Cowi's going to scout that as the first one, and then he's going to find Tendersteak's probe as they meet on the ramp and then go off. So let's see if Cowi actually changes pathing for that one. No, he's still going to head on down south, and it will be the last point he checks is where Tendersteak is, which is the closest position he could possibly be to Cowi Pandan.
Yeah, that's right. And Tendersteak's going to be on top of that one. He'll be the first one to notice it, but I don't think it's going to be that much of an advantage because Cowi's not that far off. And yeah, he's got a good spot to scout again. So Cybernetic's core, not quite hidden, but somewhat. You could say that's a sneaky position. But I'll say Tendersteak will see that either way. I like the placement of the gateway there, Toby. Sort of, and the probe as the pylon as well, sort of half defending his probe line.
Yeah, this is something you see a lot from Protoss as well. Actually tries to make a wall around his nexus, which does actually protect his line. Interesting to also note the Cybernetic's core not actually spotted that time by Tendersteak, but Tendersteak has done something a little bit better than last time. He didn't have the reinforcement last time because he didn't have the pylon down. This time he's dropped one right on top of that rich mineral field, the destructible rocks expansion. So Cowi, he's got to be careful when that warp gate comes up, which is currently being chrono boosted up. Stalkers are coming out as well to get rid of that damn probe of Cowi, which caused him so much trouble last time. It's causing him trouble this time, and he's not even going to warp him in. He's throwing down another gateway on top of the destructible rocks. So a proxy at 24 here for Tendersteak. Is it going to pull off for him? We might find out in just a moment. If Cowi actually heads on down there, which would be ridiculous for him to do, then it might all be over. But it's not this time. But we're going to see 2 gateways coming off on that rich mineral field expansion. 3 gateways, just to make it even better.
Yeah, and it's compounded by the fact that he's shut out the probe from his base as well with his little wall on here. So he's not going to know how many gateways are missing, how many he should be expecting to be in there. He's really at a huge lack of information here, Cowi. So that's just based off of that information alone is what's making me think this is almost definitely going to win and end the game, because it's... okay, I just spoiled it for myself by looking at the progress bar. I keep trying not to do that, but then I fucking looked at it.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's
well done, Pandan. But make up a black box and just cover it up for yourself, so you don't have to go through the horrible time.
Yeah, I know, it ruined it for me. But the guys, right now, we're gonna see if this attack's gonna be. I'm actually interested to see exactly how successful this first attack here is gonna be for him. Cowi's playing a bit risky here with those first 2 stalkers. He really doesn't want to lose that one, and he probably just won't.
No, it'll live on 2 HP, but he's got to be careful. He's getting those photon cannons up, so he will actually have the high ground advantage through the cannon on the defense. But now with Tendersteak, the warp gates are completing. The pylon's now warping the units in. The Stalker's actually getting harassed by that photon cannon already. Tendersteak throwing down a pylon on the front lines. Cowi trying to harass that units while they're in range of his photon cannon. He's brought down 1 Stalker with no losses so far, but those Zealots now running themselves up, trying to bring down that injured Stalker. They get him too. The limping boy at the back is what they've managed to actually claim here, and Tendersteak keeps the pressure on this time. Cowi with the Zealots on the front lines. He's got to get his own units in. More photon cannons coming up. They won't complete in time. Tendersteak is about to push into the base. He didn't even need that proxy, even though he just needed 1 pylon to do so. He's pushing in nicely. He'll take out the photon cannons as well as the pylons. There's not a lot that Cowi can do. Tendersteak has 4 Stalkers in there. Takes out the last Zealot who is running around on the ground too. And 2 Stalkers. It's all that's left. Fantastic micro from Cowi to actually try and bring these guys down. But now he can warp in a couple more units. He's going to get even more pressure. Photon cannon completed at the top of his ramp too, so a little bit of hope for him. Losing his pylon down the front lines too. But those Stalkers from Cowi try and push the Tendersteak Stalkers out as well. As Cowi going to get himself pincered out here a little bit. As our photon cannon attacking on those Stalkers. 1 Zell on the front line too. Cowi doing a hell of a lot of damage from minimal units here. So all props to him for actually surviving this one. Tendersteak is actually calling a GG call. I'm not sure if he's calling that for Cowi or not, because Cowi is the one that's actually got to call that. But Tendersteak is actually the one leaving the game.
Yeah, he decided that his attack there was not successful enough. You know, if you try and pushing in very aggressive, the more and more you commit to some sort of all-in play, the more you have to succeed with it. And he really didn't succeed in that. Like the last pausing screen here as the replay has finished is 1 Zealot That's all he's got left. And Kowi has 4 stalkers. He's got more on the way. He's in fact building another gateway. The 2 photon cannons at the ramp. Kowi defended that brilliantly, and he didn't even particularly see it coming. But I'm sure with the that ramp off that he's got at the front there, that's probably something that tipped him off to it, Toby.
Yeah, that was. I'm impressed by Cowi's micro to actually pull that off, to fight with the photon cannons and hold that front ground. Absolutely fantastic play by the big man, and this is why I like watching Kowi. I don't think he should actually be he should be forgotten in this match. It was a fantastic way of actually playing it out, and he came off with the goods. And I'm really looking forward to seeing his matches later on into this competition as he goes up against more people. Like if he fights off against Legionnaire, if he fights off against Glade, or people like that, just to see him really, really tested in a game as well. I'm really looking forward to that one. And of course, we will have more matches coming up tonight.
Yeah, and that's it. 2-0 for Kowi over Tendersteak. And this is Toby and Pandan signing out for round 1 of the CyberGamer Storm, or Western Digital Storm 2010.